Well, third world people is somewhat different. Unless you can just tell them, you go to school to make money. Don't say, I'm going to go to school to major in the arts. That's ridiculous. Or psychology, that's even more ridiculous. Dad, I'm going to school and I want to do business, computer science. I want to go into medicine. So that's like we can buy a mansion now. And of course your name is ultimately your profession. The higher, if you're a surgeon, you make your parents proud. If you go home and your dad says, this is my daughter, she teaches psychology, yuck. Doctor, engineer, lawyer. Huh? Well, you don't need to be, just plagiarize. Don't get caught. Anyone, judgment, attraction and capacity, I haven't forgotten. Anyone else before we do attraction, judgment, and all that?
I don't know if it was this class or the other one, but about the lack of female philosophers. I was wondering.
Yeah, they're no good.
Where Ayn Rand is in all that.
Josephine is shaking her head disappointedly. What an ass. Okay. So your question was, why is there a lack of female philosophers?
And more specifically, why is she so controversial? Is she taking?
Oh, Ayn Rand, you mean? Yeah.
The video comes in with her work, but her good self, objectives. So.
I can't tell you. I don't know. I mean, I tried. I really did to read her writings. I just couldn't get past the title of the book. And I tried to watch some of her YouTube talks. Physically, I wasn't very attracted, so I couldn't listen to her. Josephine, that pleases you. So, I mean, I'm sure she has some interesting things to say, as all of us in class, but I just found it to be a waste of my time, so I just, but some of you may like her, nothing wrong with that. But should you go and listen to Ayn Rand and enjoy her ideas, don't bring them to class. Okay. Ahmed, what's going on? Ahmed, your name reminds me of a book. There was a book that was translated about maybe a century or so ago. It's called The Awakened Dreams. Have you read it?
No.
Aren't you from the Middle East? That's right. Middle Easterners don't need to. So there is this kid whose name is Ahmed Raji, and he's Turkish, so it's spelled Ahmet, Ahmet, which is the wrong, really, spelling, but we're not going to get into that. So Ahmed Raji is one of those introverts who goes through these emotional roller coasters. He wakes up happy, 10 minutes later he's just sad, on the verge of tears. And his friends always thought him to be a weirdo of sorts, but they enjoyed hanging out with him. So one day on the train, they went, on the strip. He becomes an introvert, and then he becomes introspective, and his friends look at him and say, uh-oh, Ahmed is going into one of his moods. Give him a drink. And so he takes a drink, he's now jovial, hanging out with his friends, having a good time. They reach home, and he's walking home. To his left, as he's walking home, there's a cemetery. The gates are broken, and for some strange reason, the cemetery is very, very attractive to him on that particular day. He says, I just have this feeling to just walk in and walk on the tombstones and be around the cypress trees, and he does. And there is this hut that someone had built on this, tombstone, and he just takes a look at it, and all of a sudden this man comes out. He's got this cap on with 1,000 tiny little mirrors, glued to it. And he has a long beard. And this young kid looks at this old man and says, "Can I kiss your hand?" And the old man says, "No, that would be foolish. Let me make some coffee for us and we can sit and talk." And one of the things that this old man, whose name is Mirror Dead, tells him is that he asks his name and he says, "My name is Amir." He says, "Oh, you have taken the name of humanity. Well, let's sit and have a conversation." And of course, he falls in love with this old man. The old man dies, and this young man, who's now middle-aged, finds himself in a mental institute. He's gone completely crazy. It's what we call Majnoon. Yeah. You're not there yet, but... Anyways, I just, Anyone else? Judgment. You're born and you are kind of thrown, as Martin Heidegger, the German existential philosopher, would say, you're thrown into the world. You didn't ask to be born, and yet here you are. And then you're thrown. But you're thrown in a very, very strange way. You're thrown at a specific time. Not the 1950s, but you're thrown in 2023. You're also not thrown in the Middle East, you're thrown in America. Not Georgia, not Mississippi, not Wisconsin, you're thrown in California. Oakland. You're also wired a very special way. You're also given those unique sets of parents that you have. And what you need to consider before even we get to judgment is the following. That every human being has a consciousness. Every consciousness is nothing but a cup or a container. It's completely empty. I don't care about reincarnation or dreams at this stage. Every container is empty. How it's filled is the time in which you're born, which is 2023. Now, the parents you have, they're either sane or insane. They're healthy or unhealthy, physically, emotionally, psychologically, intellectually, or spiritually. They're secular or they're profound. Secular in the sense that they're all meat and no spirit, or they have a good amount of spirit and little meat, or a little bit of each, okay? You're also thrown in Oakland, a city with its own unique sets of advertisements. You're also come with your own wiring, being an introvert, extrovert, passive, active, okay? Whether you want to or not, life is going to offer you experiences. All experiences have to be filtered by what you have on the inside. Your culture, your time in history, your parents, and your temperament. And you're going to define and categorize every single experience that comes your way, good, bad, right, wrong, pleasant, unpleasant. You will make a judgment. It doesn't need to be educated in the grand scheme of things. Educated in your way, and that's right. I just don't like broccoli. I don't want you to bring down Jesus Christ to tell me the benefits of eating broccoli. Your tongue will tell you. You look at the eggplant, you look at it, and there is something about the eggplant that just looks yucky. And it doesn't matter how much your parents try to force you to eat it, you say no. Your eyes have made a judgment, okay? Now, these are organic judgments that come our way, okay? And out of these experiences that are categorized as good, bad, right, and wrong, you have biases. Now, what you have in this culture is they want to make us believe that being judgmental is bad. Being biased is bad. The truth is, these are just parts of life, and these are just who we are. We make judgments on a daily basis. Okay. Now, there comes a point, going back to his question, Josh's question, is well, how do you have educated judgments, educated biases? Okay. If you're 25 and you come to my office and you say, I'm an American and I have wings and I want to fly and see how high I can go, I'm not going to be open-minded. I'm not going to look at it and say, what a maverick. Great. They're so brave. I'm inspired. Why am I in shackles? Maybe I should be like a 20-year-old. Okay. I'm going to look at this 20-year-old kid, put them within the context of what it means to be 60. You don't want to be the victim of the rent market. You don't want to be a victim of the banks and the interest rates. You don't want to be a victim of being financially insecure and at your age being like 50 or 60 or 70 working at Home Depot. Okay. What I will do, I'm going to allow my biases and prejudices to come in. And I'm going to judge this 20-year-old harshly because they haven't really had the taste of life. They haven't been punished the right way. Okay. Now, here's the thing about having educated judgments. You say, I want to go out there and exercise my wings. Fine, go out there. There comes a point where you're tired and you want to sit on a branch. Upon sitting, if you happen to be at the right stage in your life, you begin to observe your freedom and the consequences of exercising your freedom and where that freedom has landed you. Okay? You've been free. You've done everything you wanted throughout your life. Now you're 40. You sit back. What do you have? You got no companion. You got no relationship with your parents. You got no money. You got no school. You were free, yes. But now observation reveals you have amounted to nothing. The freedom you exercised for 20 years now gives you regret that holds you hostage, shame, sadness, maybe even depression and loneliness. And though you may want a great companion, have a wonderful life, the truth is, to have a good life, you need money. You need to be emotionally, intellectually stable. You don't have any of that. So when a 20-year-old comes to my office and says, I'm going to go back in time and say, okay, this 20-year-old is going to be sorry. Maybe not next week, maybe not next month, but certainly in about 10 years. They're 30, 40, they have nothing in their life. And now they come, they want you to sit, okay, and then listen to their life story. I don't have time for that. I'm going to give you a very educative judgment, which is what? I don't care about your past. What you need to do is put yourself through the classes. Take 15, 20, 30 units a semester. So first, you do what you want to do. Then at a certain point, you get caught. You sit and then you observe. And whatever it is that you're going to observe, you won't like. Because they're going to inspire feelings and emotions and insights that'll make you look bad in your own eyes. And then you have to change your life. And then you're going to judge yourself harshly, which is really, really good. And hopefully the harsh judgments will inspire you, motivate you to kind of make some changes. And then you'll graduate. And then you'll find an exact copy of yourself in a 20-year-old who wants to do everything that you've done. And then you're going to sit down and say, I've been there, I've done that, you're stupid. And then they're going to walk away saying, wow, you're so judgmental. I thought that, instructors were supposed to be diverse and open-minded. Yeah, it's good to be open-minded as long as your brain doesn't fall out. So. Okay. We got 15 minutes. Let's do capacity and attraction. Any other questions before we move to You guys are so quiet today. Is it because it's a Monday? Marcia? Okay. There's a story that comes from 11th, 12th century by a man named Fariduddin Attar. The word Attar in Arabic means someone who makes and sells perfume. And tradition has it that this old man had a perfume shop, and every morning he would go out and spray people with what he had made or created. And then after spraying them with some, perfume, he would sit them down, give them a cup of tea, and give them a commentary about the smell of the perfume and how it was made and all that. One day, as he steps out and sprays this old man, he's about to give commentary, and this old man smacks him on the face and looks at him and says, "You don't need to give me commentary about the perfume. The perfume has its own commentary by the scent that it gives off. So just keep your mouth shut." And Attar was immediately attracted to this old man. And this old man looks at this young kid, Attar, and says to him, "Why do you waste your time making people smell good on the outside when in fact they smell so awfully bad on the inside?" And so at a certain point, the old man lays on the ground and says, "I'm going to tell you what it means to smell good. I'm going to die well right in front of your eyes." He closes his eyes and he dies. And that's a life-changing moment for Attar. So he sells his business and he goes on this quest to figure out what really is the meaning of life. And he writes more than a couple of books. But two of his main writings, one is called Mantiq Tayr and the other is called Tazkiratul Awliya. Tazkiratul Awliya is like the lives of great philosophers. And these are religious philosophers, Sufis, in the Islamic tradition. And the other is Mantiq Tayr, which is the kind of journey that human beings have to take from the secular to the sacred, the profane to the profound, me to the spirit. In one of the stories, and these books contain, infinite number of stories, one of them is related to this man named Sheikh San'an. Any of you heard of him? Yeah. Sheikh means teacher, and San'an is the name of a man who lived in a certain city that was named San'an. Right, Ahmed?
Yeah.
Assalamu alaikum. San'an has about 400 disciples. If I was to ask you how many people worship you, say, well, my wife likes me a little. My kids, they don't really listen. And my parents don't really like me. So how many people worship you? Maybe half, maybe a quarter of one person. And you like when someone likes you, when someone worships you. This particular teacher, around the 11th century, had 400 students. He was loved. And whatever he said, it was like the 10 Commandments. He would say and disciples would do without question. And when you're a teacher like that, you would say that every time you go to sleep and you have a dream, it's like Jesus Christ sitting next to you and giving you nuggets of wisdom, or Muhammad sitting next to you, or Ahmed, Assalamu alaikum. And so he has this dream that he has found himself in this city called Ray. And he is looking towards the east. And he's looking into this window. And then there is this beautiful, beautiful, beautiful woman, young woman, 16 years of age. And she has this long, yellow, or blonde, or brunette hair. And she's like combing it. It's like silk. And he awakes from the dream. Says, this is not possible. I'm a sheikh. My dreams are supposed to have religious components to it. This dream is filled with lust. Why is that possible? How is that possible? What's happening to me? Now, because dreams for some people have profound significance, he says this dream certainly must have a meaning. He gathers his 50 disciples and says, let's walk to the city Ray so I can figure out the meaning of this dream. And should any of you in this class ever want to talk about dreams, their significance, what they mean and all that, they can do it next time, if you're interested. If you're not, Ahmed, assalamu alaikum. So, they start walking and they find themselves in the city. The sheikh, upon entering the city, is trying to look around to figure out where he needs to go. And lo and behold, he looks to his left, and he looks at this window, and there is this girl just brushing her hair. He says, oh my God, she looks beautiful. And he waits and waits and waits until she turns around so he could see her face. And eventually she turns around and her face is much more attractive than her hair. He just sits there, just looking at her. The disciples keep telling him, Sheikh San'an, let's go. He says, go where? I have reached my destination. There is no place to go. They say, you're a man of God. You're a Muslim. قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ اللَّهُ الصَّمَدُ لَمْ يَلِدْ وَلَمْ يُولَدْ وَلَمْ يَكُنْ لَهُ كُفُوًا أَحَدٌ. You are only to worship the one true God. She is an idol. She doesn't deserve to be worshipped. I don't care what you guys say. I'm sitting right here, I'm not moving. The girl, of course, doesn't know what's happening. After a few weeks, news gets to her that there is this old man sitting. And every night, he looks and watches you. He stalks you. And the girl is a Christian, by the way. She's an infidel. Assalamu alaikum. So, eventually, once the news gets to the girl comes down, looks at this man in a respectful and says, hi, Dad, what are you doing here? And the old man can no longer contain himself, says, I'm in love with you. Marry me. How old is he? 80. How old is she? 60. What? Assalamu alaikum. And he looks at her and says, love does not discriminate. Love doesn't know age. Love doesn't know young or old. Love doesn't know married or single. Love is love. And the girl looks at him and says, I appreciate that, but maybe you should spend your time looking for a burial ground because you're old, you're about to die. You should go to Costco and find yourself a coffin with Bluetooth and air conditioning. He says, no, I'm in love with you. Marry me. I said, are you kidding? Go away. And the disciples keep telling him, this is embarrassing for you and for us. I'm a Muslim, He says, no, My true religion is not Islam. My God is not Allah. My true religion is love. And my God is this woman who happens to be a Christian. Attraction and capacity. And the girl comes down and says, now keep in mind, you're inspired to change the direction of your life because of a dream. And because dreams are like Morpheus, they're messages given to us from the gods. And you try to figure out what they mean because they have something to do with your soul. You're also a teacher. But once you fall in love, you don't really care about anything. You don't care about your religion. You don't care about who you are, what you are. You don't care about your age, how ugly and pathetic you are and look. And you don't really care if you fall in love with a child. You're just in love. هیچ آدابی و ترتیبی مجوی هر چی میخواهد دل تنگت بگوی. That when you're in love, you no longer live in a structure of sorts. You're free to say whatever and you're free to do whatever. That's what love does. Eventually the girl comes to realize that this man is true, that he in fact does love her intensely, and looks at him and says, you want to marry me? Yeah, I want to marry you. There are 4 things you need to get rid of. And if you're able to, I will marry you. Now, the guy says, fine. I don't care what they are. I will give them up for you. For those of you in this class who ever want to give up anything, smoking, drinking, porn, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your shoes, your pants, whatever, your past, if you don't love, you can't give it up. Giving those things up is enormously difficult, nearly impossible. Love is the key, but it depends what kind of love. The girl looks at him, the guy looks at this girl and says, okay, what's the first one? Just say Jesus Christ is my Lord and Savior, and He is my salvation. I'm of course putting words in Fariduddin's mouth, but he's dead, so I don't think he'll mind. Now his disciples hear what this girl is asking, and they are angry. And this man looks at this young woman and says, I'm not a Muslim. I've never been a Muslim. Jesus Christ is my Lord and Savior. Assalamu alaikum. Why do you shake your head? Assalamu alaikum. What's the second one? Burn the Quran. What? Burn the Quran? The messages given to our messenger, Prophet Muhammad, burn the Quran? Yes. Fine. The Quran is burnt. And the disciples have no idea what the hell is going on. First you say, I'm no longer a Muslim. And then you burn the Quran, a sacred text. You need to understand the sort of people Muslims are. Remember Salman Rushdie, when he came forth with the satanic verses? This is like the 1980s. And he was stabbed like a dozen times just a few months ago. Right? You can't mess with Muslims and their religion. Tell them, Ahmed. Yeah. There you go, see? Now.
I'm feeling nervous now.
First of all, this is, it's not my story. I'm just, yeah. You have any issues, take it to Fariduddin. If you can find them. The third is you have this khargh, or this cloak that you wear. Tear it in half and trash it. And for those of you who may not know the symbolism of a sheikh's cloak or jacket, ultimately these cloaks go back to Prophet Muhammad. It means that there was something that lived inside him. He protected the wisdom, the insight by this jacket, and this jacket keeps being passed along to those who are worthy of carrying the wisdom. And this man says, fine, I'll tear it apart. Your question about attraction. A simple attraction will not motivate you to make sacrifices, at least sacrifices that have substance and meaning. Even if you're interested, you won't make sacrifices. You have to be at a place of need where, without the presence of this particular person or this particular thing, your life has zero meaning. If it's more than attraction, infatuation, obsession, and of course the king of all, if you're in love, then that love will make all sacrifices very, very easy. In fact, love becomes a thing that you worship. The more you love, the more you have the capacity to sacrifice, the more you have the capacity to be abused, to be harassed, and to be tortured. I had when we came to America in the 1980s, we had a lot of friends who were once political prisoners. And Iran's prisons were awful because they would torture you in nasty, nasty ways. And I remember on occasion, some of our friends would, take off their clothes and they would show us. And it's kind of like Rambo, we've seen the movie The Last Castle with Robert Redford. What had happened to their bodies, being tortured. And then you ask them, well, what the heck happened? They wanted information, we wouldn't give it to them. Why? We were in love with an idea. We were willing to sacrifice our life for an idea. And the more you love, the more you have capacity for all sorts of garbage that life throws at you. The less you love, the less capacity you have, and the more judgmental you are. Now, you will never know what your capacity is for anything without being challenged. Let me just tell you this and then we'll go. At a certain point in my life, I felt as if I've become too hard. I'm hardened on the inside. Nothing can move me. And I would once in a while, think about the passing of my parents. And I wouldn't cry. I wouldn't even get teary-eyed. I would say, okay, people come, people go, and that's that. And then one day I heard the news that my teacher was sick. He had cancer. And then I realized that I'm getting very emotional, which was unlike me. I hadn't experienced this kind of emotions about me for 20 years, maybe. And then my mom called me saying that he died. And then I broke down. And the point I'm trying to make is, you will really never know what your capacity for anything is until you're touched by something. You think that you don't need a boyfriend or a girlfriend or a wife or a kid. You don't need money. Okay. Well, let life take your money away. Well, how are you going to survive? Then you can experience the worth of your salt. That you don't really need your parents. Well, once they die, what's going to happen to you? And it's one thing to sit in this classroom and talk about things, but the moment that life itself touches you, kind of like the story of Job. Job is a really, really good man if he's not tested. But once tested, he's an evil human being. Not evil in the sense that he goes around bullying other people. Everything he believed in just goes out the window. You know, you're supposed to accept good and bad because they both come from God. Just keep your mouth shut. That's not what Job does. And that's not what any of us in this class will do. You know, under very comfortable circumstances, we're all saints and sages. The moment life touches you, you realize, well, what is really your capacity? Then life becomes like a mirror. You get a chance to see yourself. And you get a chance to see your own incompetence, which is traumatic. Having said all of that, have a nice day. It's good to see all of you. Stay safe. COVID is on the rise. Don't look at anyone. Don't touch anyone. Don't breathe on anyone unless you don't like them. Have a nice day. Assalamu alaikum, Ahmed. Thank you. I'm sorry? Yeah, send them to me, Lewis. Thank you for your email, by the way.
I sent a few and I didn't know whether it was too late.
No, send them.
Okay.
It's good.
Yeah, because I sent question 8 as a duplicate as question 7. I thought questions 2 to 7 were just going to be thrown away because it was too late, which I understood. So I just used the last question for 7.
No, just send them my way.
Okay. I'll send a full list.
Okay. All right. Oh, you have nice hair. Yeah, send the questions. It's good.